This episode is sponsored by JDAQA Software Testing, your scalable solution for manual, automated, security, and performance testing. Check us out at jdaqa.com. And with that, let's get on with the show.
This is The First Customer, hosted by Jay Agner.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the First Customer Podcast. My name is Jay Agner. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Brittany Jenkins. She is the founder of WeAreTech. It's a company that's building an ed tech platform to provide underserved communities equitable digital literacy tools and resources. I think I got through all of that pretty well. Brittany, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We were just talking about some interesting stuff before we started, kind of some pivoting and just, your branding and all sorts of stuff. But let's start with where you came from. Where'd you grow up? And do you think that had any impact on you being an entrepreneur later in life?
I think when I grew up has a bigger impact on me becoming an entrepreneur than where. But I grew up in San Diego, California. My family is from the East Coast. The military brought us to the West. And I grew up in a very laid back type of, environment. Like we're beach people, always at the beach, just taking our time. And I think in terms of being an entrepreneur, that did attribute to me being able to just move at my own pace, because everywhere else I've ever lived, been challenged with moving at the city's pace. Because I grew up in Southern California, I've always been able to just kind of level out at my own pace. And entrepreneurship requires you to just really be able to manage your own pace and go with, the flow and the waves and the tides of like what may come in your business development journey. So I guess you can say where I grew up did attribute to me being an entrepreneur. But I think more so when I grew up. Like I'm a 90s baby. I grew up during that time where digital technology was really starting to get, integrated into, everybody's everyday life. My first phone was that Nokia little brick phone when I was maybe in the 10th or 6th grade, or no, 6th or 5th grade. And that time just made you very scrappy. If you wanted to access the internet, you had to plug up a dial connection into the wall. If you wanted to record, things on your TV, you had to plug in a VCR. Like I think at time just having to be very hands-on with technology, having to program your MySpace page, having to burn CDs. Well, you weren't supposed to, but still, having to really hack technology together, I think that made me very entrepreneurial. Yeah, it just made me learn how to figure things out.
Did you have any entrepreneurs in your life when you were growing up?
In my family, growing up, I did see a couple entrepreneurs in my city. Like a friend of mine, her dad owned a chicken shack. My friend Siobhan Charles, she's really dope. He owned a chicken spot. That was honestly one of my only exposures of people to being an entrepreneur. Like everybody I grew up around, blue collar or corporate jobs. Working for the county, working for a school. I didn't really have a lot of entrepreneurs around.
Okay. That is the case sometimes. Sometimes it's an acquired skill set, and just picked up as you go. So tell me about WeAreTech. We talked a little bit about it was maybe more of an org focused kind of thing. You're pivoting it to be more of a platform. But tell me, where did the idea come from? Where did you kind of come up with this? And tell me how the genesis of WeAreTech.
Well, it started, I guess the ethos behind it started when I was working in the tech industry. I quickly learned that there was a lack of diversity in the tech industry, and not just diversity in terms of race, but also diversity in thought. And that really bothered me. It gets very exhausting when you're not in a company or not in an environment that one may not fully accept you, but also does not always understand where you're coming from. Especially when it comes to tech. Tech is deeply integrated into our daily habits. And I firmly believe that a tech company has to reflect the audience of the people who are using their platform in order for the company to equitably serve or empathetically serve. So that really bothered me. I ended up volunteering one time for this. It was like was like a seminar where some girls came to our company to learn about coding, and I volunteered for that. And I just really liked the way the young girls' faces just lit up. I was just like, wow, you guys really like this. You guys like learning, and like you guys are really warm toward me in terms of learning this from me. So it was just really cool to have that experience, and that made me want to get an education. So I became a teacher, and I became a tech teacher in North Philly. Shout out to Simon Gratz High School. Yeah, I became a teacher, and while I was there, I learned why there was a lack of diversity in the tech industry. There were barely any students that I taught that really understood the basics of digital literacy. And I mean, like keyboard shortcut, like things like that. Like this generation, this younger generation, a lot of times people just expect them to know things about tech, but they're really the touchscreen generation. So they don't really understand about different interfaces, keyboarding, using a mouse trackpad. Like there's just little nuances in tech that's just lost on that the kids teach. So that just made me understand like they're struggling with this. They're not matriculating into any type of college, you know, study that is going to lead them on the pathway to being in the tech industry.
Mhm.
Like you can't if you don't know what control paste is, there's a high probability that you may not understand basic engineering, you know what I mean? Or different, you know what I mean? Like there's just certain things where like you need those parallels in order for someone to have the transferable, aptitude to articulate into a tech role. And yeah, that made me just want to really start an organization. Originally, we started the organization to do workshops and do office visits. So right before the pandemic, I had scheduled an office visit at Facebook, which is now Meta. I had an opportunity to work there back in 2016. So I had some really good relationships there, scheduled an office visit, scheduled a workshop for my students just to do like a pilot, like what WeAreTech can be, getting kids in the environment, learning the skills so that they can see themselves in position. And then the pandemic occurred and everything got canceled. So So it was just like, yeah, no, like you think you're about to do this, but this is not how this is gonna go. So, but it it birthed a whole new part of the business. I thought we were gonna be just a nonprofit org where we're exposing kids to tech, through these workshops and office visits. And quickly I became the tech integration specialist at the school that I was teaching at, which was Gratz at the time. So immediately started making documents to teach people keyboarding, teach people how to navigate Google Classroom and various other platforms for the staff and for my students. So it was a cool, immersive exposure to like, here's the problem. People really don't understand basic technology. The reason why that is because digital literacy education is not standardized nationwide.
Mm.
And when you look like English, math, science, there's
Right.
statewide, nationwide standards for what you need to know. Whereas like digital literacy, there isn't anything like
Yeah, it's just a
you're
computer class or something, right? Like it's yeah.
exactly your principal, your district, supervisors, all these people, they're not held accountable to any type of standard system that says by this grade, our kids need to know how this works with computers. By this age, they need to do that. Like there's nothing there. Oftentimes it's a lot of one where they're like, okay, we have, like you said, computer class, or we have a graphic design elective, or we have, engineering 101 elective. So that just let me know like, I already had a hunch of here's why I want to be in this space because it's important for equity, it's important for inclusion. But then once I was put in the hot seat, I was like, oh, there actually needs to get product here. I can't just do this for one school community and it shouldn't be all one person. And on top of that, there's not a bunch of people like me. There's not a bunch of people from the tech industry leaving the tech industry to go work in education in order for kids to get this education.
Mhm.
So I was like, there needs to be a platform can make it easy where one, it makes it more accessible where people can just go onto the platform and access the resources they need or gauge where they are in their understanding, create a pathway in that way. Teachers need resources, so whenever there's digital literacy integrated into their curriculum, say, an English teacher needs to teach kids how to make a works cited page, but may not understand the language around teaching kids, the user interface of Word, Google Docs. There
Hmm.
needs to be something there that can address that. So started, building. I went back into my tech bag. I'm like, all right, I know this process. Been a part of this process before. So I started mocking up some UIs, reached out to strategic partnership that I built and just built a working prototype. It's been really cool. Like now we're at the point where, as I was sharing before, like we're transitioning from an organization to needing to rebrand to product.
Hmm.
We have something that people can use and it needs to stand on its own product and platform versus an organization mission.
Who is the user, or not the user? Who is the purchaser or your target customer to acquire this platform that you'd be selling? Is it school districts? Is it individual families? Is it individual people? Is it teachers? Like who's buying this thing and kind of applying it to the school setting?
Right. Well, that's a good question. And in having a product like this, and I think, can you hear me? Because I think,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I think the next thing I'm about to say will be very useful for social impact businesses because oftentimes when you make a social impact product, the target audience that you're engaging may not be
Hmm.
your customer, may be the person sponsoring your target audience. And that's something that I learned in WeAreTech. So our target audience, even though a lot of people are old people, they would love this. They need to learn tech. And I'm like, that's cool. But the
Right.
younger people, K through 12, and we're honing in on the 6 through 12 grade because they have a lot more autonomy. They can use it more as an individual.
Mm.
Our target audience are 6 through 12th grade students, and our target customer would be the sponsors of them. So we're do teacher where teachers can purchase the curriculum, the platform, access to the platform, and sponsor like a classroom size of students. Organizations, we've been working with nonprofits with our workshops, and we find they definitely purchase what we offer to share it with their, organization members. And eventually, I would love to do a family plan, but we haven't pushed with that flag yet, so I haven't really been pitching that or including it in my pitch deck at all. But yeah, we're targeting the people who sponsor our target audience to have access to our platform as customers.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
So maybe if you're going through this rebrand now, you've kind of learned some lessons along the way.
Mhm.
I usually ask this question to companies that have been around for a while, but I'm curious what your answer would be. If you had to start over again tomorrow from square one, you've done all these things, you've learned all this stuff. If you were going to start out to build a product to provide, these equitable, access to, digital literacy, what would be step one if you had to start over again tomorrow?
UX research.
And how would you
That's what
do that, by the way? That's a great answer. Very specifically, how would you go about doing that?
surveys. I would do what we're doing now. Like originally, I had a concept and was like, "Oh, let's build this," and then I went and built it. And it was cool. But I find that and I think a lot of startups do this. They build something or they have an idea and they go and build it. And when they test it, they try to make the data validate what they built.
Of course, right, right. Yes, you just
And
spent a bunch of time and money building something. It better validate what we just did.
yeah, and it's just like, no, you're not in the business of product, you're in the business of people.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. When you're an entrepreneur, you're in the business of people. What do people need? What do people want? Because nobody is going to just buy something because you said it, you built it, and you want them to buy it. Like, no, you have to really understand the problem, understand the pain point, understand the need, understand, the value of solving that problem, the value of, your solution solving that problem. So I would have done a lot more user experience research because when you do that, you can really, without building anything, you can analyze people's experience around, especially in some of the workflows, you can analyze their experience around the problem you're addressing with their use of products. So instead of having to spend all that money, if you're building something that's like a live streaming platform, you can survey people about their experience, all the other streaming platforms. Like when you use YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, Twitch, when you use all these different platforms, what is your experience like? How do you
Hmm.
log in? You can ask tons of questions and then get insight on, oh, okay, here's who the pain point is. Here's what other platforms aren't doing that they need a platform to do. Let's build that. So,
That's a great, and so I love that very much, and I talk about this quite a bit on the show and just in general to other friends. Market research has to be like the biggest boogeyman in the world, right? Like it's the scariest, but probably most easy to do thing. It's like it's a very daunting task to go out and say like I'm going to do that. So I am curious
mm,
if you were building, just pick an example. If you were doing a live streaming, if you were doing maybe even your own platform and you were going to go do market research, tell me kind of, tactically, like, how do you do that? Would you like find people on the street? Would you like call people? Would you like find people online? Like, do you send them a spreadsheet? Like, how would you acquire that information from potential customers or people who use platforms like ones you were going to build?
there's a variety. So you can always, so here, I'll say this. It's good to interact with people who are part of the demographic that you want to appeal to that you don't know. So, like, oftentimes people get sucked into, like, okay, I want to build this thing for salon owners because I'm in the beauty industry and I noticed that all the salon owners that I know, they struggle with this. So, what happens is because you're in that industry, you tend to go to the people you know. And then those 10, 15, maybe even 100 people you know, they all are, oh, yeah, I like that. I like that. But 9 times out of 10, like, they like you, they know you, and they wanna encourage you, you know? You need to put yourself in a position where you can survey a test sample of people that you don't know. So that's step 1. So and there's other ways, so to step out of, your inner circle and think outside, "Okay, how can I people I don't know that are still in this demographic that I wanna appeal to?" Rooted in reality, step 1. Step 2 is look at the different strategies you can take. So if you want to do, and I think these strategies can be based off the sample size you want to work off of. So like with tech, 1,000 is really a standard sample size in terms of traction. Like any pitch you'd ever do with any investor, it would be great to say like we talked to 1,000 people. But hey, if it's 200, that's fine too. There's ways to identify what's the best sample size for you. And there's actually a book that I learned about in the Early Validation Academy that I'm a part of that they talked about. It's something about statistics. Like, forgot. It sucks. I forgot what it's called. But there's books on like, just literally Google the words UX research and statistics, and you'll see like, or UX research, statistics, manga. And there's literally one book that's going to come up for that. But
Okay.
yeah, identify the strategy. If you want to work with a small sample size, maybe you might want to do like some hands-on focus group. If you want to do a larger sample size, surveys. There's different options in terms of market research testing or that you want to do. So surveys, focus groups, can't think of a lot more of them right now. But even workshops, I think workshops work too, because like that's the tool we're using our tech. Like workshops put you in a position you can put it out there in terms of like what you're about, especially if you're a social impact business. You can create some type of themed workshop around what you're about and then puts you in a mixture. You're in a focus group slash you're probably testing content on your platform to refine it. And then after the workshop, you can give somebody a survey. And it's like a full immersive kind of like market
Hmm.
research process. And then one, I think that is really dope, lead generation tactics. So like marketing funnels and lead generation tactics, I think that's something I want to get deeper into. So like If you wanted to identify with those people who are part of your demographic that you don't know, you can set up, a web page, put some Facebook ads out into the ether, Instagram ads, any type of social media ads, put them out into the ether and lead those people to that web page that has either your survey or a brief, tidbit about what you're doing, and get people surveying that way. There's a few different things you can do. One thing we're going to do at WeAreTech is do some assessment. So kind of like the 16 personalities test, we're going to create an assessment that people can do and let that be a funnel into our, our ecosystem of content.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Get rooted in reality, in terms of stepping outside of the people that you know. Think of what type of test sample is going to work for you, whether it be small, large, and then think about the tactics fall within that. Don't be shy with type or paper form, those tools
love that.
work.
I love those answers. All right, let's switch gears a little bit because I am curious. I think I have a good read on your type of personality, which is very kind of consistently inspired, and you get excited by, by putting new things out into the world and kind of seeing how people react and building things. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that mindset. So, but my question is, what are your hobbies? What do you do to not be dialed in all the damn time and like just relax a little bit and not be thinking about the next big thing?
Oh man, I try. I really like collaging, even though I haven't done it in so long. I like the outdoors, so I love going on like hikes and stuff. Hiking out here is different than it was in Cali though. Like in California, like I used to drive hours to go for a hike because even though you don't have to, you could hike, down the street, at the park that's 15 minutes away. But I would drive for a while to go hike because those beach spots, oh my gosh, those beach spots are just like a oasis.
Mm,
But I live near the Wissahickon out here in Philly, so I'm always going to Wissahickon Park to walk with my dog. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hiking and collaging. And since I haven't collaged in a while, I've actually taken up 3D design.
okay.
I like that a lot. Like, I feel like 3D is it's like a catch-all. Like, I get to be creative. You have that as an outlet, and it's a lucrative field. So I get to build on something I could do to earn money building my business.
Beautiful. All right. One last
Thank you.
question. One last question. Non-business related. And I'm even going to throw another caveat on this one because I feel like I'm going to lead you to an answer if I don't say this. Non-business related, non-community, equity related, just more of you personally. If you could do anything on earth, maybe a bucket list item, maybe anything else, and I knew you couldn't fail, what would it be?
And knew I couldn't fail. I guess for me, failing means just dropping everything and not taking care of anything. So I would just travel.
That's a great answer. See, that's a
Finding
fair,
bills weren't due.
honest, that's an honest, fair answer, and I love
Would
it.
travel.
It's fully
Travel
accepted.
miles
I
per
love
hour.
it. It's mine. I think mine's very similar. I would do the same thing. I have 5 kids and one on the way, so travel for me,
Woo!
failure is always not even an option. It's guaranteed. So yeah,
Facts.
I appreciate that answer. I love to travel and see new things. So I love that answer. All right, if people
Bro,
want to
every
find
day.
you, if people want to find you, Brittany, if they want to find WeAreTech or whatever the future name is going to be of your platform, what should they do to reach out to talk to you?
If you want to contact me directly, you could DM me on Instagram at B the Influence. It's B the letter B THE Influence, all spelled out. If you want to reach out to WeAreTech, we are on Instagram as well. It's WeAreTech. But also swing by our website, WeAreTech.education. Even though we are going to go through a rebrand, everything will be forwarding to our new everything. So yeah, reach out, DM me. I'm always available there. Even reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can search up Brittany P. Jenkins on LinkedIn and message me. Love talking about startups. I think this would give me energy because tech entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Like, it is the hardest thing you'll ever do in life, but it really brings me a lot of joy. So, if you have any questions or want to just talk, let me know.
Beautiful. You're very inspirational. I think
Thank
the city of Philadelphia is lucky to have adopted you. I'm
you.
glad you're here. I expect big things from you. I love your energy. I think, there's certain people I talk to that you can tell are heading towards something, and I certainly feel that way about you. So I wish you the absolute best of luck. I will
Thank you.
definitely make it a point to find you at some of these events that I'm sure we're both
Yeah.
at in Philly.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing you in person, and enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and thank you for being on. I'll talk to you soon, Brittany.
Yes. Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.